In this video, we're gonna go through common makeup mistakes that age you faster. These are simple mistakes that can be corrected so easily, but they're also the ones that I see my clients over the age of 40 and 50 make all the time. I have personally made these mistakes throughout my makeup career so many times. I really have. I had to learn it the hard way, guilty as charged. Making mistakes though really is the way to grow and learn, but since I already made them, you don't have to. I'm gonna be demonstrating all of these mistakes on the beautiful Lisa today. Lisa is in her mid-40s, and on half her face, I'm gonna do her makeup the wrong way, and on the other half of her face, I'm gonna do her makeup the right way. And then we're gonna compare the differences. Let's go. Mistake number one is not prepping your skin properly. Makeup will only look as good as the skin on which it's sitting on top of. So that's why it is so important to create as smooth and supple of a base as possible. On Lisa's right side, so your left of the screen, I'm gonna be doing all of the good things. And on her left side, so your right, I'm gonna be doing nothing. The very first thing that I'm gonna do is get rid of any of the dead skin cells on top of the skin by exfoliating. Doing this step about twice a week will have a tremendously enormous impact on how your makeup looks and how it sits throughout the entire day on your face. There are two different ways to exfoliate from home. You can use a chemical exfoliant or you can use a physical exfoliant. A chemical exfoliator like this one by Bubble uses acids to get rid of dead skin cells. They actually work by breaking down the bonds that hold skin cells together. As those bonds are broken, the top layers of the skin cells shed, revealing regenerated skin from underneath. Another way to do it though is with a physical exfoliator like what I'm using on Lisa right now. This product here is by the brand Illumier. It's a really great brand of skincare, and it's actually made up of these tiny little granules that manually remove the dead skin cells from the surface of the skin. After we get rid of the dead skin cells, we want to hydrate, use sunscreen, and then prime. Now this step here can be dependent on the type of skin that you have. Sunscreen goes on without question, no matter what skin type you have. Oily, dry combination, you're gonna use sunscreen. If you're using a chemical sunscreen, it is step one. And then step two is moisturizer. If you use a physical sunscreen, it will become your second step. So you're gonna use a moisturizer and then you're gonna use your physical sunscreen. Primer goes on top of those two products. Now, for people with oily skin like me, I will use a sunscreen that is also a skincare product that also acts as a primer. The brand Supergoop is really good for this. It's like a skincare, sunscreen, and a primer product in one. If I use too many layers of product under my foundation, if I do this on anyone with oily skin, it's just too much and the skin will become too wet over time. Now, Lisa told me that her skin goes more towards the dry side than the oily side. So for her, I used my chemical sunscreen first, and then I used a moisturizer over top of that. I didn't use a primer on top of that because I did use the Supergoop Glow Screen, and that already is a primer product. So it would be an unnecessary step. Just remember that the better your skin looks to begin with before applying any makeup at all, the nicer the makeup's gonna look and the longer the makeup's going to last. Makeup mistake number two is using a drying powder foundation. Powder foundations are really tempting to use because they are very quick to apply and they are super convenient, but they can be incredibly unflattering if you're not very young. They will flatten the radiance of the skin out completely. They sit in all the fine lines and wrinkles, and they can look very patchy and cakey, especially on skin that's not extremely oily. If you are looking for a full coverage foundation that is beautiful for mature skin and has a satin finish, then I really recommend the Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation. You always want to start by dabbing the product on the middle of the face and then use a damp beauty blender to stipple and blend it out towards the hairline. Don't apply your foundation on your sponge directly because the sponge will absorb way too much of it and you'll end up wasting a ton of really expensive product. Also, don't apply the foundation to the perimeter of the face because it's going to be harder to blend and you'll end up with like a masking effect on the hairline, or even with foundation right on your hairline. So what you want to do, right, is apply the dots to the center of the face and then blend it out so it becomes really sheer as you reach your hairline area. Mistake number 3 is using too much concealer or concealer that is too light for you. The concealer triangle thing was a huge trend a few years ago. Do you remember that? It was everywhere. Everyone was doing it on social media. It can look good on camera, truthfully it can, but it looks atrocious in real life. The under eye area has so much movement and so many lines that you really do need to minimize the amount of product that you're using here while still getting a brightening effect. The tear trough is always the spot that has the greatest depth. So what you want to do is focus a dot of concealer there and then a little swoop of concealer at the corner to lift up the eyes. Then using a stippling motion, you want to blend that out. Mistake number 4 is setting your concealer with a powder that is too matte, too dense, or both. If you don't set under the eyes, the concealer will crease. Cream products always crease in areas that have mobility, but if you set under the eyes with a powder that's too dense or too mattifying, you will get an incredibly crepey under eye area that looks much older. Okay, here's an awesome trick that I just learned. I'm really excited to share it with you. The first thing that you need is a very finely milled powder. So the translucent powder by Chanel is an excellent option for under the eyes. I've talked about it a lot on the channel, but a budget-friendly option is this one by e.l.f. It's really, really good as well. I've used it on the channel a bunch of times. I've talked about it a bunch of times. I really do like that powder as well. So if you want to be a little bougie, get the Chanel one. If you want a budget-friendly option, get the e.l.f. one. They both work pretty well. What you're going to do is you're going to take a little piece of toilet paper and you're going to separate it so it's a very thin sheet of paper. Then you're going to press it under the eye to pick up any excessive product that's going to want to immediately crease in those fine lines. After that, you're going to lay that paper again on the under eye area and you're actually going to powder on top of it. The paper will act as a sifter to finally distribute just enough powder to set, but not too much powder to over dry that area out. Isn't that a great trick? Look at the difference between the eyes here. Look at how different it is when she smiles, okay? One side looks very heavy and powdery and older, and the other side still looks bright, but it also looks natural, which is the goal. You want a brighter under eye, but you definitely still want a natural under eye. You don't want arrows pointing to the lines under the eyes, right? We want to offset the darkness, but we want it to still look like a natural face with natural skin. Mistake number 5 is overdoing the brows. This is literally the biggest mistake that I have made with my personal makeup for the longest time ever. If you look at my older videos, my brows were just way too overdone. It was so unflattering. I totally recognize that now. A really overdone brow was a huge trend a couple of years ago on all of the social media platforms, and it looked good on some people on camera. Definitely not on me, but on some people it did look good. But I'm telling you, it always looked weird in real life. One of the biggest brow mistakes is applying too much product on the inside of the brow and making it too square there. You want your brows to be a little lighter on the inside near the nose and then gradually get more defined at the ends on the tails. A brow product that's very easy to use is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Powder. It has a really nice diffused pigment, so it's hard to overdo it, and it comes in so many fantastic universal shades. As you can see, I shaded in using small hair-like strokes and an angled brush in the areas that are missing hair or missing some density. On the inner part of the brow, I actually dip into the lighter tone in the brow palette, so I use the darker tone on the outer edges of the brow, and then I diffuse lighter tones on the inside. I like to finish it off with a brow mascara to keep the hairs in place for the whole day. If you compare both sides now, you can see how one brow looks like it was stamped on the face and painted on, and the other just looks like an elevated version of her natural brow. Mistake number 6 is not color correcting the eyelids and applying an eyeshadow directly on the unprimed eyelid skin. You do not need to buy a fancy eyelid primer for this. You can if you want to, and some really are very effective, but if you don't want to, it's totally fine. All you need is a concealer and setting powder. That is what I use on myself every day. It's simple, it's already in your bag, you're good to go. Applying a thin layer of concealer and then setting it with a powder to prevent it from creasing will even out the color of the lid first and foremost, but it will also prevent the oils from breaking down the shadows that you use and making them look patchy and creasy throughout the day. This is the most important step in any eye makeup application, and it is the one that is most often skipped or ignored. Another reason why you absolutely should not skip this step is because those oils on the eyelid will eventually transfer your liner. So if you are using liner, your liner is going to kind of interfere with the oils here on the crease, and it's going to lift and create a makeup crease in that area. You're gonna notice that happening later on in the video after I use eyeliner on her. It's wild. You really do need a barrier between the oils that are going to naturally come through and the rest of the makeup. If you don't have that barrier, everything is going to break down throughout the day. Mistake number 7 is using harsh liners and applying too thick of a line from the inner to the outer corner of the eye. If the liner is as thick on the inner corner of the eye as it is on the outer part of the eye, it can make the eye look very boxy. When you're working on the liner in the inner corner, go from underneath the lashes and not from over the lashes. This is actually called tight lining, and what it's gonna do is gonna keep that area looking really super thin and crisp. Instead of using a black liner on Lisa today, I am going to use a dark brown just to keep it softer around her eyes overall. On the outer corner, I'm gonna use a makeup setting spray. I'm gonna spray my brush, and then I'm gonna use a shadow for the shading. I'm just gonna give her a little baby wing today so that you can see how flattering it is to lift up the corner of the eye. If you need to clean that line up at all, you can use a flat concealer brush with a little concealer, and you can just sharpen it up that way. I'm not going to be talking about eyeshadow mistakes in this video because it's going to get way too long. Eyeshadow mistakes can make up an entire video all by itself, but if you want me to make a part 2 showing you eyeshadow mistakes that I often see made, please comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and let me know. If I have enough interest, I'll definitely do that for you right away. I also want to let you guys know, before we get back into it, that when I hit 300,000 subscribers here on the channel, one of you will be randomly selected to win a Dyson Hot Tool. The winner will be able to choose whichever Dyson Hot Tool they want, whether it's the blow dryer, the air wrap, the air straight, the Corelle straightener, whatever you want, it's yours. If you watch my videos but you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time to do it because we are gonna hit 300,000 this year and it's going to be amazing. Also, if you are part of my channel memberships community, as a thank you, you will automatically get 10 entries into the giveaway, so your chances of winning are going to increase. I really truly appreciate all of your support, and I'm so thankful to have you here on the channel. Mistake number 8 is applying a blush that is too low on the cheekbone. If you apply your blush too close to the inside of the face, it can really drag down the entire cheek area and make the face kind of look like it's sagging inwards. Actually, it really just pushes and sags everything down. Try applying your blush higher than what you're used to and see what happens. On the don't side, I am using a powder blush that's too warm for Lisa. It's way too warm for her skin tone. And on the do side, I am using a cream blush that has a brighter, poppier color that's a little bit cooler and that works a lot better on her cool skin. Cream blushes are so trendy right now. I can definitely see why. They have this gorgeous dewy kind of glow from within finish. If you haven't tried it, definitely try it. It gives radiance like nothing else. It really is such a great way to add radiance to the face. Mistake number 9 is applying a lash that's too heavy on the outer corner. Lashes come in all different shapes and sizes, and if you choose to play with them, they really can make an enormous difference in the overall look of the makeup. But if you choose the wrong one, they can completely distort the eye shape and look terrible. A big mistake that I often see made, that I have also made as well, right? I'm guilty of a lot of these mistakes. That's why I know that they are mistakes. But a big mistake is choosing a lash that goes from short too long for a deep set, hooded, or an aging eye. When the lashes are too long on the outer corner, it can draw arrows to the hooded area there. If you have any hooding, right, or heaviness on the outer corner of your eyes, look for lashes that go from short to long in the middle to short again at the ends. I just found this one at Walmart and I think it looks beautiful on a mature eye or on a hooded eye. It lifts right in the middle and it doesn't create that sagging effect on the ends. That's actually the lash that I have on today. They are so natural, they're so comfortable to wear, and they don't kind of create that hooding or that interference here in the corner. It lifts without dragging the eyes down at the corners. Mistake number 10 is overlining the entire mouth. With this kind of big lip trend being so hot right now, it's actually dying down a bit, but it's still very popular, right? Overlining has become a huge thing like I've never seen before. If you want to overline your lips, definitely go for it, but keep the overlining to the Cupid's bow and to the center of the bottom lip. And then at the corners of the mouth, you want to meet the natural lip line. If you overline everything, the mouth gets very wide and then you get kind of a clownish effect. If you want more volume in your lips, try adding a gloss to the very center at the Cupid's bow and to the bottom. A gloss is a highlighter, so it's going to give the illusion of fullness without you having to overline the lips too much. At the very end, don't forget to spray your face with a setting spray. Just like we finish our hair off with hairspray, setting spray is great for melting all of that powder product into the skin, keeping the makeup on all day long, and also adding a touch more radiance to the face. Here is a close-up of the two sides, and oh my goodness, what a difference it makes. If you use a piece of paper to block the good side and then block the bad side, you can really see how much better she looks with some simple adjustments to the makeup. Thank you again so much for subscribing and supporting me and my journey here on this platform. It really does mean a lot. This video is over.